Welcome back to Business Studies class. Today we'll start with chapter 2, that is your principles of management. In first chapter, we have discussed that what is management, basic features of management. Then we had a detailed study of nature of management by comparing with other disciplines. Then we have seen other functions, major functions of management, that is like planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. Then we have seen the different levels of management like top level, middle level and bottom level. And even we have discussed about coordination as the most important activity or a function of management, as it is an essence of management. So by studying the first chapter, you might understand how important management is in an organization. I hope you got it. And now it is very essential to know how the manager should behave, because management, that is planning, is very important. But if a manager does not plan in a right manner, he may not organize correctly, he may not staff people correctly, so all other functions go in vain. Hence, managers should know how to manage, how to plan, how to organize, how to direct, how to control the activities. So in order to give them guidelines, these principles were developed. When I say principles of management, it is nothing but guidance to the managers. So we'll be seeing the meaning initially. Principles of management are the guidelines developed by thinkers, that is developed by the management experts, to guide the managers to perform their managerial functions, not on the basis of trial and error but on the basis of well-found generalization. Here you can see the meaning. Principles of management, that is the guidelines, are developed by the management experts in order to guide the managers to perform their managerial functions. That is, managerial functions are nothing but your 5 functions of management, that is planning, organizing, staffing and directing. Okay, so these principles are developed by the management experts in order to guide the managers to do their functions in an absolute manner, not on trial and error basis. What is this trial and error basis? Trial and error basis in the sense you don't know exactly what is right, but you keep on trying, and when you keep on trying, many times you may go with wrong things. Okay, so after doing many wrongs, you will come to know what is right. But if you do in that way, time will be wasted and organization even may result in a loss. Hence, in order to help the managers, the management experts have developed some of the guidelines, and those guidelines we say as principles. In order to help the managers, in order to guide the managers in their managerial functions, principles were developed by the management experts. So this is what your meaning of principles of management. So few management experts we have like this: F.W. Taylor, that is Frederick Winslow Taylor, then Henry Fayol, Erich Bernard. All these four we call as management experts or management gurus. Many we have, but as per our syllabus we will be considering these 4. And among all the 4, we will be mainly concentrating on Henry Fayol principles, F.W. Taylor principles, and somewhat Erich opinion regarding Taylor and Henry Fayol's principles. So all the 4 experts are management gurus. They have a lot of experience in management field, and they have come out with some of the guidelines to the managers which will help them in performing their managerial functions in an absolute manner, not on trial and error basis. So how the management principles were developed? As I said, all the 4, many are there, but we will be considering as per our syllabus, we will be concentrating on 4. Okay, how they have come to how they have developed these management principles. So you can see here, management principles are derived through following process. Initially, problem emerges, problem happens, alright, in an organization. Initially something happens, something wrong, problem arises. That is what your managerial problem emerge. Problem arises. Once the problem is there, then efforts are made by the management thinkers to solve the problem. Once the problem has happened, then management thinkers made efforts to solve the problem. What are their efforts? In general, we say observation and experiments. They tried to observe why such problem arised. For example, I'll get you. Company resulted in loss. This is what the problem is. Company resulted in a loss. Organization could not earn profit. This is a problem. Then the management experts or the experienced people started thinking over the problem. They are able to, they want to find out the root cause for the problem. Those are the efforts we say. How they are able to find out? They started observing the activities of an organization. What are the different activities carrying on and how they are carrying on? Like that, they started observing the organization situations and started experimenting some of the things. Like they started, okay, because of this production delay, we have resulted in loss. Because when production is delayed, your entry into the market gets delayed. Once you are late into the market, generally market is already occupied by some other seller. When you are late into the market, the products which have come into the market earlier, they'll occupy the market. Means many customers they will be having. So your product may not attract more customers. So that is the fault why you have resulted in a loss. So they have identified the problem and then come out with some of the solutions through observations and experiments. Right? We have seen this feature now. Even science is based on experiments. Even management is also based on experiments, we say. Hence, first problem emerges. Problem happens. Then management experts thinks over the problem and they come out with they'll start making efforts. Those efforts are your observation. They keep on observing the situations and they start applying some of the solutions for that. Okay, this is because of production delay. What made production delayed? Material may not be given. Raw material might not be given at the right time. Why raw material is not given? No finance was there. Why finance is not adequate in the organization? Because some of other reasons. So they started experimenting. So they arranged finance in the right time and they have seen when finance is absolutely arranged, whether production is delayed, sometimes even after coming out with the right adequate finance also production might be delayed. It is because of what? The purchase delays. The purchase delays, he might be efficient purchase manager, general manager, but also because of the supplier delay, the purchaser may not able to get the raw material in the right time, equipments in the right time, and unable to supply to the stores, and stores unable to supply to the production department, and hence production is delayed. So like this, many problems will be there. So the management experts or the experienced people started observing the situation and they started experimenting some of the things. Once they started observing and experiment, they have come to a conclusion, and that is what your solutions for the managerial problems. Okay, so over these 3 steps, these principles are derived. What are those principles? We'll be seeing later. But initially, you have to understand what are these principles of management, who developed that, and how they have developed. So first, problem emerges. Problem happens. Then efforts will be made to solve through observation and experiments, and then they will come out with the solution. Alright. Now, we'll see the features of management principles. So 2 things you remember. It is not a word principal, it is principles. Many students, they'll get confused here. In spite of saying many times, they'll write principals. So it is not principals, it is principles. P-L-E. You have to remember. Okay. So in chapter 1, we have seen the features of management. Here we'll be seeing the features of principles of management. Okay. The guidelines, nature we'll try to understand through studying the characteristics of principles of management. Next one is universal application. So the guidelines what we are going to study in this chapter can be applied universally. It can be applied to any type of business. It means it can be, those guidelines can be given to the managers working in any type of industry. It might be production industries, or it might be in the line of the business, might be in the line of trading, whatever may be. So not only for the business, even for non-economic activity also, we can, if there are managers, for example, some organizations will be working for the society, that is non-profit making organizations we say. There also we can find many number of people who are working for a single objective. So there also many people will be involved in work, hence there also needs management. So managers will be there. So even for such managers, these guidelines what we are going to study in further topics that can be used. Hence we say they can be universally applied. See, universally acceptance is different from universal application. So science principles, theories are universally accepted, but we cannot say that management principles, that is guidelines to the managers what we are going to study, they are accepted by everyone universally. We don't say that, but that can be applied, we say, right? So we say universal application means the guidelines what we are going to study in this chapter. So those guidelines can be given to a manager who is working for any type of industry. Then a relative and not absolute. A relative not absolute says that the results what we find by applying the guidelines may not be same. Example I'll get you. I have A and B students. A and B two students I have. So to both I motivate. I'll be motivating both. Even I motivate A and I motivate B. But the result from A and B may not be similar, because how they perceive differs. I might motivate the both in a same manner, but how they perceive, how they receive my motivation, whether they are got motivated with my words or not, that there I don't have any confirmation. Okay, hence we say the guidelines what we are going to study, those guidelines which are used by the manager are relative in nature, not absolute, means they don't yield absolute results. You cannot say that I have applied this guidelines, so surely I will be finding this result. You cannot say that, because it even depends upon the person who is taking that. But it does not happen with the science. It does not matter who is mixing the chemical. When you mix A and B chemical, your result will be same in science. That is absolute result you will get. But by using a particular guideline by a manager towards two employees, the result will not be same. Hence we say they are relative in nature. Okay, they depend upon the people who receive that, who are involved in that. Hence we say your guidelines are relative in nature but not absolute. Your results cannot be absolute. Okay, then general guidelines. So your guidelines are not rules, they are just guidelines. Guidelines in the sense a way to or a path which is shown, right? They are not hard and fast rules, they are just said as guidelines but not rules. All the guidelines what we are going to study, all are just guidelines, they are not rules. So we say all the principles of management are just guidelines but not rules, hard and fast rules. So you cannot say that you are a manager, you have to follow this guidelines. You cannot have a pressure on you, because they are just guidelines but not the rules. Next, not rigid. So your guidelines are not rigid in nature, they can be flexible. Means I know a particular guideline, I know that guideline has to be used in this particular situation, but I can make some change in that guidelines. That in guiding the employees, I can mix up my own skills, I can mix up my knowledge, and I can make that guidance. See, one of the feature of art we have seen, that is personalized skills, personalized application we have seen. So as a manager, I learn some guidelines, okay, and I have to follow that guidelines in my organization, so that my organization's efficiency increases. But when I use that, I have learned that, and when I use that, I will be mixing up my skills, my abilities in guiding the employees. Is it clear? Hence we say they are not rigid. You can mix something with that guidelines when you are guiding your subordinates. What are these guidelines? You are showing them the path. So when you are showing them the path, only what you have learned you may not show, you may not say. I have learned something and I added something else with that, and I just guided them in a particular way, path. Is it clear? Hence we say they are not rigid. What I have learned, only that I have to teach. It is not like that. I can add something what is right to that to see a good result. Okay, hence we say they are not rigid, they are flexible enough. If I feel, yes, if this to be added in my guidance, the efficiency will be increased, surely I can go with that. No one can pressurize me that no, you have added something with the guidelines. No, nothing can be done like that, because your guidelines are not rules, hence they are not rigid in nature, they are flexible. Formed by practice and experimentation. This also we have seen in the features of science, first chapter, nature of management. Under that topic we have seen that as scientific principles, scientific theories are developed through practice and experimentation, even management principles also developed or derived through practice and experimentation. The management thinkers, they start thinking when the problem emerges, when problem happens, they start thinking over that, they put some efforts by observation, and through practice and experimentation they come out with the solution. These solutions are the guidelines we say. Hence they are formed through practice and experimentation. Mainly behavioral in nature. This is the most important point you have to understand. Why they are not rigid, why they are just guidelines? Reason is they are behavioral in nature. So you can find some link between one feature to another feature. To justify one feature, we can use some other feature. As I said, they are relative and not absolute. They are general guidance and they are not rigid. Why they are not relative? Why they are not, why they are not absolute? Why they are relative? Why they are treated as just guidelines? Why they are not rigid? Why they are so flexible in the sense? Two reasons I can give. That is, your guidelines are behavioral in nature and they are contingent. Alright? What is this behavioral in nature? Behavioral in nature in the sense, it goes with the behavior of the people who are involved in that. See, as I given example for your second point, your relative and not absolute, you might use the same guidelines to a same situation to a different persons who are involved in that. Your results will not be absolute, because the guidelines what you have given is behavioral in nature. It means the people who are involved in that perceives that in a different manner. It goes with the people. The guidelines what we are going to study in this chapter, it moves with the people's attitude. So if I have a positive attitude, that guideline works on me in a positive manner. If I have some negative attitude, negative thinking, those principles, guidelines which are used to that situation may give me something else result. Hence we say the principles of management are behavioral in nature. They move with the behavior of the people. And next, cause and effect relationship. Guidelines helps to find out cause and effect relationship. Your guidelines helps to find out the cause behind the effect. Say effect is a result and cause is the reason for that result. I'll get you an example here. You have scored out of out in a particular subject. You have scored out of out, 100 out of 100 in a particular subject. So out of out, that is your result, effect. The cause behind that is something else. The cause, how you are able to find that, how you are able to get that out of out is you have your hard work, your commitment, your interest, and many more things. Is that clear? So when we apply guidelines, when we use as a manager, when I use guidelines and apply that to an organization, I'll be able to find out the cause for every effect. One more example I'll get you. If you find someone is not performing good, if someone's efficiency is too low, alright, then as a manager, by applying a particular guidelines, I'll start searching what is the cause behind that. I'll go to the root cause. What makes him not to perform in a better way? It might be unhealthy working environment. It might be unsatisfied remuneration. Because of these two reasons, these are the causes for his inefficiency. Is that clear? So when I apply some of the guidelines, I'll be able to establish a relationship between your effect and cause. So management experts believes that for every effect there is a cause. Nothing happens in general. If you smile, there is a reason for this, a reason for that. If you are hard towards something, there is a reason for that. That is what the management experts believe. So your guidelines will help to establish a relationship between effect and cause. So what happens by establishing such a relationship? You will able to find out the root cause for that, and you can apply a right guidelines, guidance there, and you can change that so that your effect changes. And lastly, contingent. Same, this point is again we have seen what we have seen in second and third and fourth. Why they are not absolute, why they are relative, why the principles, that is guidelines, are just guidelines, not the rules. Why they are rigid? In the sense they are contingent, means they are fully dependent. See, it does not mean that if I learn all the guidance, I can apply all the guidance to all the organization. Is that clear? I have learned, I know many guidelines, I know many things, but all the things cannot be applied to all the situations. So it is my knowledge, my ability to pick a right guidance to apply to a particular situation. I will be having thousands of guidelines within me. I have knowledge of that, okay, but I have to see the situation and I have to pick a right guidelines and I have to use that guidelines to that particular situation. Unless such things are done, you cannot find a right solution. Hence we say, so again management is an art, we say, because artist will be always creative in nature. Even manager should be creative in nature, we have seen. You should come out with the innovative things. See, for example, the principles what we are going to learn may not be exactly matching with the situation. So it is your ability as a manager to come out with the, by having knowledge of all the guidance, it is your responsibility, your creativity, that is your innovativeness, that you come out with the new thing to solve that particular situation, to handle that particular situation in an organization. So we say they are contingent in nature, means they are dependent, depending upon the people who are involved in that, depending upon the situation of an organization. It might be internal situation or external situation. So I hope you have understood these features of principles of management. Alright, two things you should be very careful about. The word principles, it's not principles, principles. Second one is features of management. We have studied in chapter 1. In chapter 2 we are studying the features of principles of management or management principles. They are not same, they are different. In this topic we have seen the features of guidelines. Principles are nothing but guidelines. So in this video we have started with meaning of principles of management, who developed that and how they have developed and what are they.